I've done portions of this speech at high school and college students 4 times in the past 2 weeks. I do another one like I told you today at 3:30. And I've had young people ask me before, why do you talk to us about legacy? You know, sir, we're like in the 8th grade, or we're 17. We've got 60 or more years of life left to live. And I tell them it's because of this young man. A young man named Josh Biggles, who was number 36 for the O'Connor High School football team in San Antonio, Texas. Who, when he was a freshman in high school, his head coach said to me, there's a kid I want you to watch out for. And I said, in a good way or a bad way? And he said, oh, in a good way. And I said, on the field or off the field? And he said, both. I said, you think he'll play Division I one day? And he said, he'll play Division I football one day. And he said, but I want you to watch the impact that he will have on this school and this community by the time he's a senior. About 7 years ago, I was flying back home from the Children's Cancer Camp in California from Los Angeles to El Paso. I turn my phone off when they ask you to. I don't say it's my phone and I'll do with it what I want. And my phone was off from Los Angeles to El Paso. I turn it back on for a 20-minute layover. I have 17 texts and voicemails. And when you're in your 50s, that doesn't happen in an hour and a half time span. And I knew something had happened that probably was not good. And I brace myself and I take a breath. And while I was in the air that day, that young man drowned in the Medina River about 30 minutes outside of San Antonio. And I have 20 minutes to make a couple of phone calls, to dry my tears, to compose myself, to get on another plane at another gate. And I sit down in that second plane seat. And I ask the flight attendant for some napkins and something to write with, and I start writing qualities and characteristics of Josh that I really value in case I'm asked to speak on his behalf. And 4 hours later I was asked to put together a ceremony at our high school football field the next night and speak on his behalf. And I tell young people all the time, it was one of the easiest ones I've ever written and one of the hardest ones I've ever had to deliver, because of my value and respect for this young man who lost his life at the age of 16. 2 weeks later, I'm at open gym where the senior football players lead the weights and the practices, and his best friend says, can I talk to you? And I said, yeah, do you want to stay on campus or off campus? And he said, can we go off campus? All of these young men know that since 1999, I have sat down now over 2,500 times for one-on-one meals with young men that now last 3 to 4 hours. And people say to me all the time, what do you talk about for 3 to 4 hours? And I say, I don't talk much. I listen. Because everybody has a story. And I want to hear their story, and then I want to hear their heart. So I go off campus with Josh's best friend. How you doing? Where were you when you found out? He says, we were out of state on vacation. He said, when we finally got a message that they had recovered Josh's body, he said, I went outside and he said, Cliff, I've never cried that hard in my life. And he said, the next part's going to be really hard to tell you. And he said, why? I said, why? And he said, because I don't know if you'll believe me. And I said, at that time, it was about 2,300 meals. I said, after 2,300 meals, there's nothing that shocks me. I said, what happened? He said, Josh came to me in a vision. And we were at a lake. And Josh said 3 things to me. Life is short. Be legendary. What's your legacy going to be? And I said, what? He said, life is short. Be legendary. What's your legacy going to be? And he said, Cliff, the vision went away. He said, do you believe me? I said, without a doubt. He said, why? I said, because God works in mysterious ways. Went to that restaurant, got a piece of paper towel, pen, wrote those 3 things down and shared those with the football team prior to their first game. 16 years old with such a profound message. His large picture still sits in that varsity locker room. That high school football team lines up in numerical order for the national anthem. This year, between number 35 and number 40, there's a wide gap that will never be filled. For a young man they never knew, whose impact and legacy still continues.